Welcome back, Retro Gamers, to video 6 in the series Destiny of an Emperor playthrough, in which I'll be sharing over 150 tips and tricks to help make your gaming more enjoyable as you work through the 51 levels of Destiny of an Emperor. Now, we have defeated the Yellow Scarves and we've defeated Dong Zhuo. And we are on now our third and fourth villains, Yuan Shu and Yuan Shao, brothers who have stolen the imperial seal and are trying to usurp the throne of China. And we have made our way to the Big Persimmon, the Chang'an Castle, which is the largest castle in the game and has a lot of resources and a lot of information. We've invited Liu Bei, and he has sent us out to join the forces of Cao Cao to defeat Yuan Shu. And you may remember at the end of the last video, we kitted ourselves up. They had caps and clubs here for purchase. We had enough gold coins to purchase those caps and clubs, and so we are completely outfitted and now are on our way to defeat Yuan Shu. We've got quite a way to go, and it's no surprise we're going to run into some warlords and some resistance on the way. Jia Zhu could be a really good resource for us if we could talk him into joining us. I don't expect that will be the case. Let's see what happens. Nope. No takers for that. And we're going to slip into this little side beach along the mountains. And we're coming to Yuan Castle. And here's another warlord with a lot of troops. And we're going to find that this is common now. Lu Fan is another smart guy. We would be happy to have him on our team if we could. The good news about these potential master tacticians is that they usually don't pack a big punch as far as weapons is concerned. Of course, you've always got to be on the lookout for their tactics. So we make short work of Lu Fan, and he doesn't want to join us. Let's take a look at our staffing here. It looks like Zhang Fei is going to need a boost. So let's take one of the elixirs from Ho Hu, our acting tactician, and then let's hit the portal. Okay, no trash talking, just an alarm call, and Lai Bo with a strength of 142, not all that large, and Chen Ji is just a sidekick. So let's concentrate. Lai Bo is not all that intelligent either. So let's concentrate our fighting abilities against Lai Bo and throw a little bit of water his way. Nice successful strike with the water. This fight starting out looks pretty good. Chen Ji doesn't pack much of a punch. So let's keep going against Lai Bo. A little more water. You'll notice that we have not used our power pills here. We're going to hang on to our power pills for what ultimately will be the battle with Yuan Shu when we track him down. And there's not going to be a place where we can purchase power pills between here and there. Let's try water one more time. Excellent. We take Lai Bo out, And remember, Qin Ji isn't all that smart and he isn't all that strong. So we've got the opportunity here to go ahead and just do an all-out attack against him. Keeping our eye on our soldier count to make sure none of our generals get into trouble. And Qin Ji is gone. Lai Bo is gone. And we reap all the benefits, and we've climbed a skill level at the same time. A new tactic, and GC isn't much of a tactic as far as I'm concerned. You can look it up, see if you want to use it or not. Meanwhile, let's replenish ourselves at the inn. Now this particular castle, fairly small, doesn't have a lot going for it, but it does have one thing that I want, so I'm going to talk to the merchant and begin to sell my leather. Let's see, how many of these things am I going to be able to benefit from? Instead of Guan Ping, sorry, I'm futzing up my fingers here. We are selling Zhang Fei's leather. And we're going to sell Guan Yu's leather. And that will give us enough to buy 3 suits of the next generation armor, which happens to be up here at the weapons dealer. So, quite a bit of difference between a 300 gold coin leather suit and the padded armor for 800 gold coins. And we've only got enough gold coins for those 3 suits. And we give them to the generals that we want to protect most, those generals who pack the biggest punch. Notice we got 344 gold coins left, but if we sold one more suit of leather, it would only be a little bit less than 600 gold coins, and we wouldn't be able to buy a 4th padded suit. So let's equip the generals for whom we are able to buy the pads. And you can go to the individual generals and check out how much of a defensive increase you get with the pads. It's significant enough that we wish that we were able to purchase those for all our generals, but we didn't quite have that much money. However, this may be an opportunity in disguise. Li Feng with his ravening hordes. As long as we're close to the castle and we have these rebels attacking us, we're going to get a few more gold coins from them. We're going to keep an eye and see if we can accumulate enough gold, 146 gold coins. That gives us 490, which is only going to give us, if you sell the leather, 700 gold coins, so still not quite enough to purchase another leather suit. So let's keep on the track of the next castle. Again, invaluable to have the help of a good gaming aid with some graphics of where you're going in the landscape. Otherwise, you can end up wandering around for quite a bit of time using up your resources. 80 more gold coins, 570 plus 225. Let's turn around just for grins and see if we can accumulate enough to get one more suit of padded armor. Just another couple of battles on our way back to Yuan Castle will give us what we need as far as another suit of padded armor. So, of course, we've got to refresh ourselves, and that's going to take 60 of our gold coins. But as long as we've got over 600 now, add it to the sale price of another suit of leather. And let's give that one to go on ping. And you may be the get there kind of a guy, I usually am, who wouldn't want to take this detour back to Yuan Castle just for another suit of armor. Up to you. But this is kind of a critical point in the game for gold coins. There are going to be a lot of resources that we want and few opportunities to purchase them. And also, we're at a fairly low level of gold coins relative to the pieces of equipment that we want to purchase. So we're keeping an eye on our riches right now. Fortunately, we don't have to worry about our rations at this point in the game. I particularly like fighting the pirate forces because they aren't all that strong, but they generally have a few more gold coins in their treasury than the other rabble that we run into. 102 gold coins. Okay, so I lied. About as many as that band of brigands that we ran into. Wow, what have we got here? This looks like an opportunity to fight and also a mandate to go back to Yuan Castle. So we may end up with that 5th suit of padded armor after all. Let's take a look at who we're facing here. Li Feng, nothing to worry about. Zhang Jun, quite a bit to worry about. Pretty strong guy. It'd be fun to have him on our team if we can get him. So remember that name, Zhang Jun. Liang Gang, nothing. Relatively nothing. And Lai Bo, we've already fought him a couple of times. He's in the mediocre area. But Zhang Jun looks like a real threat for right now. And we have already decided that after this battle, because it's such a large force, we're going to have to head back to Yuan Castle just to replenish ourselves. So we might as well use some tactics against these guys as well. So let's throw a little water. Oh, not close enough to a river, so let's throw a little fire at Zhang Jun as well. Good successful attack there with the tactic. And having Guan Yu as our fighting tactician right now is obviously he's giving us some good results, but we're also missing his muscle because he is a pretty fierce swordsman as well. But in this particular case, he is dealing a lot heavier blows, as long as the generals aren't so smart. Anyway, he's delivering a lot heavier blows with his tactics than he would with his swords. So, and now we've got Lu Feng in trouble here, so we're going to have to do something to replenish him. And what I'm going to do, now this is a case where it looks like these guys are actually targeting Lu Feng. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to send Lu Bu and Guan Ping to take Zhang Jun down below 100. And I am going to let Lu Feng use the restorative tactic to restore himself. And then continue on with the muscle and tactics against the next strongest general, Lai Bo. So that force that looked pretty daunting to begin with, we've already taken the most powerful general off that force, and it looks like Lu Feng is going to have to use another restorative here because he's still in a little bit of trouble. So let's target Lai Bo. Now Lu Feng isn't all that smart. I think he's about 140 or so as far as intelligence is concerned, but that's enough to use a restorative tactic and get a fairly decent result from it. And then the real fighting tactics, we let our fighting tactician wield that. So this is one of those battles where you got to keep an eye on several different factors all at the same time. But it looks like we are in a position now. Remember, Li Feng and Liang Gang are fairly weak. Let's look at them again. 76, 57, 85, 28. So let's, at this point, let's go ahead and just take the all out. Let's keep our eye on our generals. Lu Bu's in trouble here, so let's stop. Now, the reason I want to use tactics to restore Lu Bu is when we get back to the friendly inn, we'll have those tactics restored. But you may not have noticed, but, well, we didn't buy anything at the last merchant, but the last merchant didn't have elixirs. So we want to save as many of our elixirs as we can at this point in the game. And at the same time, we are going to hold off on using any more tactics, if we can, just in case we get attacked by another large band before we get back to Yuan Castle. 260 gold coins, that gives us 500 gold coins, plus the sale of the leather would bring us close to 800 gold coins. Lai Bo was not one of the generals that we really wanted. We would have wanted one of the other two, but they didn't offer, so disappointing there that we couldn't trade up one of our generals. But now we're headed back to Yuan Castle. Another 60 gold coins. So we're just shy of the price of another set of leather. And that's why I did that little dipsy doodle to come back and see if we could find some more rebels to fight. Brigand force. They're about the weakest and the cheapest of all of the opposing forces. Let's see, 102 gold coins may be just enough. 665. So that's just enough with the price of the leather to buy one more padded set of armor and to refresh ourselves at the inn, which was about 60 or 70 gold coins as well. So right here, we're kind of pinching pennies. And this is the part of the game, this particular campaign, up until the time we run into Yuan, is the part of the game where we're going to have to keep a real close eye on our gold coins. And 659 plus the 225, so we do have enough to get that last suit of padded armor, and that will be a real good benefit for us, both on our way to our next large castle, but also obviously in a defensive context. Throughout the rest of the battles. All right, so we are fully equipped with the latest armor. Let's take a look here, just for the sake of argument. What could we buy? Nothing much. Elixir B. I think we've used a couple of elixirs, so let's get some. Oh. Elixir B is 50 gold coins, so we only had enough for one. But the Elixir B, let's talk about it now. It will restore up to 450 soldiers. So, but it costs 2.5 times as much as the Elixir A's. So that's going to be a good deal right now. We're not going to need a B very often. And here we have yet another one of those generals who's got a whole bunch of soldiers, but not very strong as far as attack value is concerned. Let's see what kind of a damage he did to our soldier population. We may need to go back and sleep it off one more time. 391. Actually, we might be able to afford another couple of Elixir Bs. And this is a little bit trying on your patience, perhaps, or on mine. Back and forth to Yuan Castle. But as I said before, it's a little bit of a critical time in the game as far as our gold coins are concerned, and as far as our equipment is concerned. So let's see, I'm trying to remember how many elixirs. Looks like we don't need any more elixirs. Checking for any room in the knapsacks. No room in the knapsacks. And as much as we like Elixir Bs, you could, if you wanted to, sell some A's to make room for the Bs. But it's not quite that critical at this point. So we'll go ahead with what we've got. And if we get into real trouble with any of our generals, we can use that B. Going through this little mountain pass here is kind of tough, but it saves us quite a trek around the outside. Around the outside of the mountains. As a matter of fact, if you try to go around the outside of that mountain pass, you run into an impact. Well, you don't. You see this little pass down here would get you through eventually. So your decision whether you want to go through the hills back and forth, or go through the fields and a little bit less tortuous route. Okay, it looks like we want to target Ji Ling because he has quite a bit of muscle. Excuse me. We want to minimize our casualties because we're coming up on an enemy castle here pretty quickly. The other two generals don't seem to be much of a challenge. Okay. We've pretty much taken Ji Ling out of the picture. So let's go ahead and do an all-out, save ourselves a little bit of time at the expense, as you can see, of some few casualties. And Chen Ji is not the strong general. He was one of the weaker generals, so we don't particularly want him. Now let's check ourselves before we hit the portal of this next castle, and you can see that Lu Bu, Lu Feng, Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, Zhang Fei, three of our generals really need an elixir A. But I'm going to roll the dice here. And I keep harping on this, we want to conserve our elixirs and stuff at this point. But I'm going to roll the dice and see if we can't defeat these generals without using any more of our elixirs. Because I happen to know that this particular castle, Yuan Castle, doesn't have any elixirs. And sure enough, there's Ji Ling, the guy that we just had to target, and with him is Zhang Jun, whom we have fought also out in the field. So we've got two pretty strong generals here. And we're going to target Ji Ling first, and I may have rolled the dice in vain. We may end up using some elixirs during this battle, but let's do what we can do, and let's see if we can throw some water on Ji Ling. Very successful, 180 casualties with that water attack, so we start out really well. But we're going to take some heavy casualties, and sure enough, Lu Feng is already in trouble. So I'm not going to leave anything to chance. I'm going to let Lu Feng restore himself and throw some more water on Ji Ling. And that's very successful so far. Looks like our roll of the dice may be successful at this point. Ji Ling is down below 100. So let's target Zhang Jun for a little bit. More water against him. And a very successful water attack. Not a minute too soon because he's after Lu Feng again. And you can see it looks again like these rebels are targeting Lu Feng as he gets weaker. So let's let him restore himself and keep an eye on our tactical points, because this is going to bring it down to the wire as far as this fight is concerned. And our water attack failed, and that means we're just going to have to use muscle and hope that we've restored Lu Feng well enough. So we've got enough for one more restorative if we need it. But given that Zhang Jun is going to be down below 100 after this attack, we'll just hold off. And we can do an all-out at this point. If you wanted to be a little more safe, you might have done one more targeted attack to make sure we took Jiling off the board. But as you can see, we did very well, including climbing up to the next level. So straight to the inn to sleep this one off. And it only costs us 30 gold coins a night, which is nice. The downside to that is that this little castle doesn't even have a merchant. Got a rations seller, and we don't need any rations. And the only other place, we're going to be coming back to this castle. So the only thing we're going to do here is to quickly save our game, just in case anything happens. We've reached a pretty hard-fought level here, and we don't want to lose it because of electronic defaults or Mama coming in to call us to dinner. So let's go straight out of the castle and up to the next fortress. A straight attack against Hanjiang and Li Feng. 114 strength and 76 strength. So these guys are not real challenging warlords for us to fight. But in the interest of time, I'm going to use the tactic against them. Just to give you a preview, we're not going to find an inn in this fortress, but we've got some back and forth business that we're going to need to do. So I don't feel too badly about using at least a couple of shots at tactics against these two warlords. Keep the rest of our tactics in our hip pocket just in case we get attacked out in the field somewhere. And Li Feng is weak enough that I think we can do the all-out right here. And we've conquered the fortress. There are a couple of important things. Now, let's talk to this guy, see what he says, just for fun. This is Chin Can. No one's here but me. He's lying. Okay, this guy's going to give us an introductory letter to Shui Jing, and he can help us out. But our knapsacks are full, and something else will be left behind. We don't want to leave anything behind What we will do, though, we leave the intro letter there, and then we take a look at our profile, and we see that Yuan is more than 100 soldiers down, and the rest of our entourage is in good shape. So we're going to use one of our elixirs, our elixir A's, for Yuan, restore him to full strength, and then talk to this guy again. And now we've got the letter. And there's one other stop we want to make in this fortress, and that is right here at the treasure chest. We already know what we're going to find there is going to be a weapon, and so we want to make room in a knapsack for one more acquisition. So we take a look and we see that Lu Bu is about 59 short. Lu Feng is about 75 short. So we're going to use another of our precious elixirs. For Lu Feng. And then we are going to take Lu Bu's club and pass it back to Ho Hu. And check in the treasure chest, and we have a spear, which is the next generation weapon. Now I just noticed in Ho Hu's knapsack that he had an extra axe in there, and we could have really helped ourselves out by selling that axe, and we wouldn't have needed as much back and forth back there at Yuan Castle. But that's now water under the bridge, or over the dam, whichever expression you wish to use. And now we need to go to Shui Jing's house, which just happens to be back in this little valley of the mountains. And here's the thing. If you want to talk to Shui Jing, you would think that what you'd want to do is offer him the intro letter. But nothing happened. If you just talk to this guy, he sees the intro letter and lets you into the house. And this is Shui Jing. Okay, because we've got the intro level, he's going to give us some advice. If we use Fu Long or Feng Chu as your strategist, no one can stand before you. Remember those two names, Fu Long, Feng Chu. Because somewhere along the line, we're going to have the opportunity of adding both of those tacticians to our entourage. And Lai Bo is a fairly strong general here, so let's just target him and use a little bit of fire against him, because now that we've got that advice from Shui Jing, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's finish out this battle. I'm going to hang on to my tactics just in case we get attacked by another large group of warlords. And we've taken Lai Bo down below 100. And now he's off the map. We've routed him. And so let's do an all-out. Again, you never know when you're going to get attacked by one of those large groups of warlords. And you're going to need some tactics, and you're going to need some extra soldiers in your armies. Now, we've captured Qinji, and he is the strong one, and I think I'm going to take him on. Oh, but he won't go with, oh, wait a minute, it was Lai Bo who's the strongest guy. I've been talking about so many different things. Let's see if we can recruit Lai Bo. 1,278 gold coins will bring Lai Bo onto our side. And we are, oh, I really want to do that, but I'm not going to, because that would completely deplete our funds. And we've got some expenses coming up. And there are, believe it or not, some stronger generals than Lai Bo out there that may be available just a little bit later on in the game. So we're rolling the dice, and we're going to let good go in hopes of getting better later on. And let's sleep off that set of battles. All right, let's talk about that letter in the whole Shui Jing conversation, because we are going to run into Fu Long and Feng Zhou, the two master tacticians, at different times in the game. And we really do want to get them on our team. But I suspect that that conversation that we had, that exercise between getting the letter and talking to Shui Jing, triggers another event just a little bit later on the game that we are going to need to happen. So that conversation, although it didn't look like it was very much, you get a letter, you talk to a guy, he gives you some advice. It's actually a trigger for future events in the game. And this next one is also a trigger for future events. We're going to come up here and talk to this guy. His wife has something to tell us. Now, we know that this is his house, and this is his wife. The west gate of Nanyang Castle is under construction, and if we attack it now, we can probably break it easily. Okay, the west gate of Nanyang, that's an important piece of intelligence, because if you hit the front portal of Nanyang, you run into a lot more trouble than you do if you hit the west gate. So that's an important piece of information. It was available the last time that we were here at Yuan Castle, but we had all of that back and forth and the letter and the advice and stuff like that. And if you get this piece of intelligence and then do all of that other activity, by the time you get to Nanyang Castle, you may have forgotten that piece of information. And you end up hitting the front portal of Nanyang Castle and you run into a lot more trouble. So I wanted to wait because I knew I was coming back here anyway. And now we're going to save our game one more time. And push on up the field. Getting out of the claustrophobic Yuan Castle, and we have already conquered the forces that were defending the fortress. So we can proceed on, and we are headed up, and here's Lai Bo again. Dang it. Notice that he's only got a strength of 142. And with all of those soldiers, though, he's got 200 more than any of our generals. You might think you'd want him on our side, and normally we would, but he was going to cost us a lot of money. And there's another general that's better than he is a little bit further on. So we've captured Lai Bo. Let's see if we can convert him. No, he wants less than last time, but we still don't want to spend that amount of money for him. So we're going to turn him down again. Actually, I think that was exactly the same price that he asked for last time. And it's up to you if you want to spend that money to get that general with a whole bunch of soldiers. You can do that, and it really is of a benefit, but it's going to come at the opportunity cost of some equipment when you need it, and another better general, maybe, when you encounter him. And Liang Ji is not much of a powerhouse at all, so we're going to do an all-out against him. And head for the next barricade. Before we do, let's check our resources here. And we see that Guan Ping needs an elixir, and this is probably a pretty good time to give him an elixir. So oh, that was a big mistake. I used the elixir for Guan Yu instead of Guan Ping. So that was really dumb on my part. At least it brings Guan Yu up to full speed. But let's use one of Lu Bu's elixirs for Guan Ping. I hope you will learn from my mistakes. And now the thing to remember. Well, let's go ahead and take care of Tweedledee and Tweedledum here. Neither one of them are very strong, so in the interest of time, I'm going to use the all-out attack against them. I mean, they have a lot of soldiers. We could have used a targeted attack, but at this particular point of the game, we can afford some elixirs from our rare stash of elixirs simply because we are now at our target castle. So let's let Lu Bu use another one of his elixirs. You see Lu Feng is down 2 elixirs there. So we're going to let Lu Bu use one of his. We're going to let Guan Ping use one of his. I'm going to let the stronger generals use their elixirs, since we've already used everything that Ho Hu had, except for that elixir B. I'm going to let the strong generals use their elixirs to restore the generals who need it, because I want to save the weaker generals' elixirs to be used during the battle. If you can think of that tip, keep that on your mind. And now you remember, here we are at Nanyang Castle, and the west gate is under construction. So instead of hitting that portal, I'm going to hit the west side of the castle. And you'll see there's Yuan Shu and Yuan Yin, probably another weaker brother, and Lu Fan. So this is a fairly large group of warlords. Think what might have happened if you tried to hit the front portal. You probably would have had yet another warlord to contend against. All right, so we have been saving our power pills till now. And we've got Yuan Shu 142, 152. So he's kind of middling strong, middling smart. Yuan Yin is just a little bit less. And notice he's got the Frankenstein headdress. So he's going to be their ear tactician. And now we got Lu Fan, who is also a tactician, who is smarter than Yuan Yin or Yuan Shu. And so we figure and take a look at his list of tactics there. He's got water, he's got fire, he's got defense. So we are going to target Lu Fan with our first series of attacks. We know we're going to take some hits from Yuan Shu and Yuan Yin because they are stronger, but we fear the tactics of Lu Fan. So instead of doing battle, we do an item. We select the power pill and we point it at Lu Fan. We do the same thing for Guan Ping and Lu Feng and Zhang Fei. So we're going to use 5 power pills against Lu Fan and hope that we can do some pretty quick damage and take him off the board before he can burn us up or flood us out. And we are going to use a water tactic against Yuan Yin, who was a little bit less smart, and hopefully we'll be able to be successful against him. So here's our power pills. Lu Bu's power pill hits a 188 casualties. So that's more than triple what Lu Bu normally strikes at. So that's good news. The bad news is our water tactic against Yuan Yin was unsuccessful. So I'm going to make a decision here. Yuan Shu, Yuan Yin, they're pretty smart people. I'm going to use one more water tactic against them before I give up entirely. And if I give up entirely, I'm just going to save my tactical points for restoration during a protracted battle. Okay, we've whittled Lu Fan down now, so I'm going to save my power pills and see if I can survive another couple of rounds of battle. And let's try the water tactic against Yuan Yin. The fire tactic didn't work. Let's see if water will. He used water on us, and it was successful. And we failed with water. So I'm going to save my tactics for restorations from this point on. And I'm going to let Guan Yu use his muscle. Now, Lu Bu and Lu Feng together ought to be able to take Lu Fan off the board at this point. And we can next target Yuan Shu. So I'm going to use the last power pill of Guan Ping and Zhang Fei against Yuan Shu. And I am also going to use one of Guan Yu's power pills against Yuan Shu. Now again, you can divide up your forces. And we were very successful with Lu Bu's attacks, so that's good news. And not a real powerhouse swing from that power pill of Guan Ping's. Let's see how Lu Bu will do. And Lu Feng has a power pill that he can use. I think Zhang Fei is out. So we've just got muscle against him, and we'll let Guan Yu use his last power pill against Yuan Shu. And now, you remember Yuan Yin is a tactician as well, but he doesn't seem to be very successful in his tactics. So we're rolling the dice and going after Yuan Shu first, and then we'll hit Yuan Yin afterwards. So it looks like I don't want to, well, it looks like at this point we are strong enough against this contingent that I'm going to go ahead and do the all out. Now, if I were really smart, I would have just gone ahead and routed Yuan Shu before I did anything else, but in the interest of time. And Yuan Shu, since he's been defeated, is going to try to run away. But we surrounded him. And then he pulls the Emperor card. You dare to defy me? I'm the Emperor. Let me go. If ever you want to restrain your little pinky finger, it is right now. Because if you hit your Z key right now, before you've read this and thought about it, you're going to let Yuan Shu go. And believe me, you will regret it. You'll run into him later on. And so we want to say no. And then hit the Z key. And he asks again or demands again, I'm the Emperor, let me go. We know he's not the Emperor. So we are going to defy him, and we're going to say no a second time. And he's going to ask again, restrain your little finger, whichever one you're using on the Z key, and tell him no again. And he's going to ask a fourth time, and you just keep telling him no. Don't run out of patience. Keep telling him no. Keep thinking about this transaction with your fingers if you are a little shaky of finger as I am. Think about what you're doing so that you make sure that you do not let Yuan Shu go. And finally, we are able to execute him, and all of his ambitions have come to naught. Peace has returned to Nanyang. Hurrah! So our third quest, the quest against Yuan Shu, has been successful. And we get lots of gold coins, lots of rations, and we step up another level in the game. And we go in the west gate of Nanyang Castle, and this is a very important place to be. The first thing we're going to do is invite Liu Bei to join us. Remember, he was at Chang'an, the big persimmon, and we are going to call him from there to Nanyang Castle. Very important to have him here because you're going to be doing a lot of traffic in and around Nanyang Castle. And the first thing we want to do is talk to Liu Bei, and he's very pleased with us, but he gives us a warning. Yuan Shu's brother will probably come looking for revenge. Truer words were never spoken. We are going to be very subject to Yuan Shu's revenge a little bit later on. There's a little bit of foreshadowing. As a matter of fact, he is our next villain. So we will be looking for him a little bit later on. Right now, we've got some very important business to transact here in Nanyang Castle. And the first piece of business is right up here in this little corner. You will never find this implement here. It's not mentioned by any of the characters in the game. There is no other reason for you to check this little nook of Nanyang Castle unless you know that right here is one of the most powerful, for this level of the game anyway, one of the most powerful weapons in the game. And what we're going to do is take that spear that Lu Bu got, and we're going to pass it to Zhang Fei. We're going to take Zhang Fei's club and pass it to Ho Hu for sales. And Lu Bu's spear is going to Zhang Fei. Wait a minute. We just went up a level, and look at Zhang Fei. He has more soldiers than Lu Bu, and he's only 5 points less strong. So we're going to take that trident, we're going to take that spear, and pass it back to Lu Bu. And then we are going to check in this corner. So this is one of the top 10 tricks of the game. One of my short videos is dedicated to getting this trident because there's no other way you're going to find it except by a very good gaming aid or my videos. Oh, we found the trident. We are going to, sorry, those shaky fingers of mine are going to get us in trouble, and that's why I'm always careful. To not move my fingers before my brain has thought it out. Zhang Fei is equipped with the trident. Lu Bu is equipped with his spear, so we've got our two top generals equipped with the best weapons, and we are going to move our formation because at this point Zhang Fei is now stronger overall than Lu Bu, and Guan Yu is now stronger overall than Guan Ping. So we move them up in the fighting order. And if you look over at the right side of the column, remember we haven't been to the inn yet to sleep it off and get all of our casualties restored. But if you take a look at, look over on the right side, you'll notice Guan Yu can move up past Lu Bu as well. So we're going to do that. Zhang Fei, Guan Yu, then Lu Bu, Guan Ping, Lu Fing, etc. Okay, before we go do anything else, we're going to talk to this guy here. He has a very special key. He knows we're going to need it, and it's ours for just 4,000 gold pieces. Unfortunately, we don't have 4,000 gold pieces. We've only got 2,500. He wants a fortune for that key. And guess what? Remember the gold key? Well, this one's a silver key. It's not even worth as much as far as monetary value is concerned, but it is very much a key to the future of the game. We want to get that key, and there is one way to get it, and that is to despoil Nanyang Cave. You may have noticed a cave entrance as we were coming up to the entrance of Nanyang Castle. We're going to go into that cave and find a lot of very valuable merchandise. But right now, in order to prepare ourselves to go into the cave, we're going to kit up as much as we can. The good news here is that we've got several weapons that we can sell. Ho Hu. Remember, he's got that axe that we forgot to sell earlier on. And he's got the two clubs, which were replaced by the trident and the spear. Now, we are also going to sell all of our caps. We just bought the caps, remember, at Chang'an Castle. We're going to sell them because we have an even better head protection to buy here. It's going to cost us 500 gold coins a pop. And so a total of 2,500 gold coins. You notice that we have 3,400 already. So we're going to sell all our caps. And you'll notice that we now have 4,000 gold coins. We could buy that silver key, but we would be left without any head protection. So instead of doing that, we're going to go over to the weapons dealer. Just happens to be up in this corner. And we're going to buy 5 hoods. So we don't have to buy any more padded. We were successful in getting all 5 of our padded armor at the last castle. So now we are able to afford 5 hoods for our fighting generals. One of the great frustrations of the game, you can only do this by ones. And remember, we still haven't been to the inn, but we want to replenish some of our stores here. Okay, now you may remember that we have used some of the elixirs from our fighting generals, but we're not going to fill them up right now. And the reason will become apparent in our next video. But we have sufficient elixirs to carry us through for our needs right now. At least we're going to throw the dice and hope that we do. And we're going to stop this video right here and save our game. Oh, wait a minute. Before we save the game, let's take a little trip to the inn, lest we try to leave Nanyang Castle, get into Nanyang Cave, and realize that we are short some soldiers. 72 gold coins per night. We've got enough money for it, and so we're going to do that. And then we are going to go back and save our game. And next game, we will get into what I think is one of the most fun exercises, the despoiling of Nanyang Cave. Lots of treasure chests in there, lots of good stuff, lots of fighting, and hopefully acquiring another very valuable general. Hopefully. Doesn't always happen, but... Okay, we need 1,125 experience points to advance to the next level, so that's going to take us a while. But we are now kitted up as strongly as we want to be at this point, with a little bit of extra space in our knapsacks, and we are ready to hit Nanyang Cave. And we will call an end. Please comment, question, give me any rumors, innuendos, negative feedback, positive feedback, etc., and I will respond in the comments section of my YouTube channel, Emperor Tricks, and look forward to the next video. Happy gaming, and thank you for watching.